Hi, and welcome to AI in 2026. My name is Andrew Alker. I'm a director in PwC's advisory practice. Today's episode is on work reimagined. We'll be diving into the human and AI collaboration and how it's fundamentally reshaping the way we do work. I'm joined by Emma Hardy, PwC Australia partner and workforce and AI leader. Emma, thanks for joining me.
Great to be here. Thank you, Andrew.
So Emma, the fundamental nature of work is changing. How are organisations dealing with that?
I think we really see organisations that have got some strong basic foundations in place, like good process documentation, good visibility of their processes, good job architecture defined, things like that. That strong L&D environment, that gives a really strong foundation or springboard to then start to think, well, how do we reinvent or reimagine? And maybe that reimagine probably speaks to what is the culture that it takes for us to be successful. So a culture where we can be confident, we can bring out ideas, we can actually try new things and feel that we're not judged or we're going to fail. And so then it sort of creates a much more expansive horizon.
What cultural conditions are needed to amplify AI potential?
Our global research is quite specific around this. We surveyed 50,000 employees across 48 countries, and the results are quite clear across a number of different dimensions. We see the importance of psychological safety coming through really strongly. We see the importance of investment in skills and people gaining new skills, and actually that also pushes up motivation for workers as well. They see that they're being invested in, they see the benefit, they see leaders rewarding and responding to that. Where the vision for an organisation is clear around why that investment matters, again, really motivating for employees, and it also builds trust in the workplace. So again, trust is a real multiplier when we think about the AI-enabled environment. So all of those elements combined are pretty unequivocal.
And picking up on that point around trust, Emma, how is that changing the conversation at the CEO or board level? What are their considerations when it comes to trust and AI?
I would suggest that we're not thinking enough about how we build trust in the workplace. I think we are much more comfortable to think about the more tangible things about a technology type change around AI, how it impacts our processes and our workflows, and that is really important. But I think when we start to think about things like trust, which is a little bit more ambiguous, we have to think differently about the problem that we're solving in the workplace. How do we build psychological safety? How do we build that even greater human connection to over-index on the machine connection, if we could call it that? And so I think organizations are still working through what trust building in this environment actually looks and feels like.
And fast forwarding to kind of a bad scenario or a bad outcome, what is at stake for organizations and for leaders that don't get it quite right when it comes to trust?
Actually, the thing that's on my mind is that we see a lot of headlines around AI is taking our jobs, but actually AI doesn't take jobs, people do. But if we can have a mindset of growth, innovation and curiosity, we're probably starting to ask some more expansive questions to maybe shape a slightly different future.
Preparing for AI of the future is often framed as a skills challenge, but in reality, it's far more complex than that. How should organisations be thinking about preparing their workforce beyond simply L&D and training?
When I think about the skills investment that's required, and not just in the technical skills that enables us to use the AI, but also in the human skills that enable us to face into this essentially entirely changed environment and ways of working and ways of interacting, that ability to be comfortable in the ambiguity as people's roles change, as the agent roles evolve at a pace that we haven't seen before. I hear questions from organisations, how am I going to help our people make time for learning? If we're asking that question, I think we're already behind the curve and the trajectory that we need to be on.
And as individuals, what are some of the capabilities that we should be thinking about for ourselves in terms of being the best version and leaning into the AI opportunity?
We need to clearly build I would call them the human skills. When our jobs evolve alongside the AI, that we're not only prepared and aware, that we understand how we can adapt and respond. We are aware that that is going to happen. We understand and can make sense of our environment. I think too, we also do need to think in a structured way around the work that we do today, the processes, the tasks, how we can start to automate and use AI to enable those processes and build capacity in the way that we work. I also think this is a team effort. We're not on our own when we're working through some of these things. We know that there's far more collaboration with our colleagues. Sharing ideas can be very motivating. Hearing how others are using AI and other technologies in their day-to-day, it really enables us to spark a different discussion and a dialogue as well.
How are you thinking about competitive advantage in the AI to human collaboration space?
In terms of competitive advantage, it really comes back to strategy and the vision, and I would call it that pull towards the future and that art of the possible. We need to be very vigilant about risk and also opportunity. This will not start and then stop, and then we can all relax and suddenly go back to our day job. This is here to stay. So how we build up that ability to face into this constant transformation and growth and change, I think will be the source of competitive advantage for our organisations.
How do organisations think about readiness and being prepared for what they can't really predict?
I think we are at the beginning of a marathon when we feel like we're at the beginning of a sprint. And how we actually prepare ourselves for the long haul in this is going to be really important. If we do fast thinking and linear thinking, I think that leads us down one path. With AI and that pace of change, there are probably multiple outcomes, multiple futures that are possible at any one time. So I think for leaders to be able to think more holistically and maybe move away from that linear thinking is going to be a really important attribute.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of AI 2026 on Work Reimagined, and thank you to my guest, Emma Hardy. We'll see you for the next episode shortly.